like they're in her eyes.
Right, all up in her. No, he could come out from the podium. Do you remember the old problem of who was that? That wasn't Sarah Palin, was it? I'm trying to remember who got blasted
walked out
for walking out. I feel like it was who was that? Somebody walked out from their podium and approached a woman, and I can't remember if it was Clinton or Sarah Palin or who, and was blasted on for getting into their space, and that was like an assault on a woman.
Right.
Do you remember that? Oh, I can't. Man, Mr. Producer, you need to come up with it quicker. Oh, did you find it, Mr. Producer?
No.
Oh. Anyway, I was going to say he could walk up and give her the double-fisted bird action and say, "How many fingers am I holding up?" Like 3 inches from her face. But the problem is they're going to be like, "Oh, Trump assaults woman by getting into her space."
Getting up in her grill.
You know what? That would be so satisfying. Oh, man.
You know, now that you say that, Mr. Carey, there was an article this week called Trumpism and Reaganism. And I started to get into the article, and 50 years ago today, former Vice President Spiro Agnew said, "A spirit of national masochism prevails, encouraged by a corpse of impudent snobs who characterize themselves as intellectuals." He was talking about, and they're bashing on Reagan from back in the day. Their criticisms of Trump is no Ronald Reagan because Reagan spent nearly 40 years refining his political views. That's what they say. They say Trump, on the other hand, doesn't have any philosophical underpinnings except self-promotion and changes his position on a whim. Reagan revisionism is quite prevalent as the impudent snobs create their own narrative of the Gipper that is at odds with reality. The article in Breitbart goes on, and it lists all the hate and vitriol that came from the GOP establishment towards Reagan. Hating on Reagan. He's a wild one. He's out there. He doesn't know what his foreign policies will wreak havoc and create World War III. Yeah, you thought Democrats were the one that came up with that? No, it was the GOP that came up with Reagan being a wild cowboy going to create World War III. He was an outsider. He was not a politician's politician. Yeah, he was governor of California, but he was pretty much an outsider, if you will. The GOP blamed him for Gerald Ford losing to Nixon. I think was that Nixon?
Ford lost to
before that.
The second worst president in history.
LBJ? Carter. I didn't say Nixon. Carter. I was thinking Carter. So on and on and on. And Rush has talked about this so much about how during Reagan's day he was not thought of as what we think of him today. And the things that people are saying about Trump today said the exact same things about Reagan back in the day. He changes on a whim. He doesn't change on a whim. He moves on. He moves off. Oh, wow.
So I'm just showing Brian the incident where somebody walks away from their podium to get into the space.
I thought it was that, but I wasn't sure.
I thought it was a woman, and
well, now that you say that, you don't know for sure in his mind if at that day.
I thought that the person being assaulted.
Why are you touching your chest?
Oh, me?
Why are you doing that?
Well, like groping. So it turns out, I remember the incident now. It was during the 2000 general election, one of the debates on MSNBC. Or at least that the footage came from MSNBC.
Right.
As G.W. Bush was speaking and responding to something Gore said, Gore comes away from his podium and starts walking up to Bush as if he was about to fight him. And of course, Bush completely didn't flinch. He was a master debater.
Wow.
Flat out.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't even flinch. In fact, he might have even kind of glanced over him like, what are you doing all up in my grill?
Bro, you need to step back off.
And it was one of those incidences that he got destroyed by the media. They were saying he walked into his personal space, what's wrong with him and why would he do that? And I just showed the footage to Brian. That looked kind of awkward, didn't it?
Right. No, it did.
He walked all up in his space. He really did. So anyway.
Yeah, let me wrap up this article.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
This writer goes off, Roger Stone, goes off and blows up everybody from Charles Krauthammer to Bill Kristol to Rich Lowry. He blows up the magazine that came out blasting Trump, National Review. This guy completely just destroys everybody. Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and the conservatives of Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell? I mean, just destroying the GOP. The politicians that are destroying Trump for not being conservative enough are the people that we know are the fox in the henhouse. Paul Ryan has made it clear who he is.
Well, Paul Ryan,
Mitch McConnell is clear who he is. All these people, we are
total
absolutely
rhinos.
Sure who they are.
Total rhinos, yeah.
Right, without a doubt. And he says the impudent snobs condemn Donald Trump for his philosophical inconsistencies, and yet their notion of conservatism in 2016 is a mystery to many serious conservatives.
I think that it is laughable that the establishment people come out and say he's not a conservative, because they are the worst.
And they're not
complete
even
rhinos.
They're not even if you go down the street and ask a patriot, a conservative, somebody who is really wanting the country to come back from the ashes, ask them what does the Republican Party stand for? No, it's
racism,
not,
bigotry, and homophobia.
It's not a trick question, or is it? It is very difficult because, like a lot of other talk shows that around America will tell you, conservative talk shows will tell you that the GOP and the Republican Party, I think they want to become more like Jell-O, because they're looking at the Democrats, and you can't pin them down on anything. And they're like, well, they keep winning.
They have no principles.
Right, so
it's all about winning.
So let's be like them, have no principles, and let's win. And those are the people who are condemning Trump. So anybody in the media that you hear that condemns Trump for anything, think twice about who they are.
Yeah, and do they have any principles at all? I'll tell you something. I know for a fact that Paul Ryan has no principles whatsoever, because when he was speaking to us, when he was running as a vice president, he hit on all the Tea Party stuff, and it sounded like he was the Tea Party favorite.
Right.
And what he has done since he has been Speaker of the House is the most just turncoat rhino crap that I've ever seen. It's just terrible.
Right.
Absolutely terrible. And so he's going to go wherever the political winds blow. When he came to Hamilton County in Ohio, we're a very conservative town, and he wanted to demagogue us, and that's exactly what he did. And he came and talked all this stuff. We had a very strong Tea Party movement going here at the time, and that's what he basically was speaking to, and he didn't believe a damn bit of it.
No, everything he ever said was all scripted by the GOP.
And I believe that Ron Paul, he wasn't mentioned in this article, I don't think, but he did one thing that really showed his hand. He's like the Tea Party, guy.
Right.
But when it came down to choosing to either back Matt Bevin or Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, he went with Mitch McConnell, and we were just like, what? So when the chips are down, you're just going to go with the total rhino, the most, like the quintessential rhino. Like he's like the poster child of rhinos.
And who cares if but but that's going to be the one who wins.
But you know
don't
what?
Vote for the one who wins. Vote for the one that you know will get the job done.
I truly believe that if he had not done that, if he had sided with Bevins instead of McConnell, I think, even if Bevins lost, I think that he would be a front runner right now. I think that he'd be right up there with the Cruzes.
He definitely would have had a movement of the Tea Party.
The only difference between Rand Paul and Cruz is that incident.
Right.
Because they're both constitutionalists by the letter of the law, all that kind of stuff. Where did Cruz come from? How did he come out of obscurity? It's because people that were Rand Paul fans, those libertarian conservatives, said, you know what? I'm upset at him over that. I'm going to go to Cruz. And that's how Cruz was able to come up, and Rand just totally
disappeared. Right. And so at the end, you can find all these articles on sickbias.com that we review throughout the week. At the end of this article, and I'll close this out, the writer writes, the 2016 campaign is becoming more and more reminiscent of the 1980 campaign when the establishment threw everything it had at Ronald Reagan. Reagan was characterized as a crackpot, a B-grade movie actor whose foreign policy would cause World War III. His economic policies were madness, and the tax cut proposal was voodoo economics.
Who wrote this?
This is Breitbart. But this is what was being said about Reagan from the GOP establishment. So all those bad things that we hear about Reagan, voodoo economics. You've heard that before, right? Voodoo economics?
Oh, yeah.
The liberals didn't make that up. The GOP establishment made that up.
That's so messed up.
Trump is in the same situation as Reagan was back in 1976 and throughout the 1980 campaign until the convention in Detroit. And then, inexplicably, to some conservatives, Reagan decided to put George H.W. Bush on the ticket as vice president instead of Kemp. Which I believe was probably his worst decision ever. But we're done with that dynasty. Americans are embracing Trump's vision of making America great again, just as they embraced Reagan's vision of America as that shining city on the hill. The shining city on the hill. Trump is very much a disciple of Ronald Reagan, contrary to what the impudent snobs say.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what the big criticism now is. Did you hear about the letter that Cruz sent to everybody about Trump?
No.
It's a list of Democrats that he contributed to, that Trump contributed to. It's a big old list of Democrats that you would never want. You would think you would never want them to have any money, but I have a response for that. I actually posted it on our closed group on Facebook.
Okay.
The person that posted it up, because I would have never known about it except for the fact that I saw that article that was posted up, basically slamming Trump for basically trying to call him, hey, you think he's a conservative? He's actually a Democrat, which you've just pointed out. No. He's a Democrat because look at all these Democrats he contributed to. And my response to that is this guy is a businessman. He's a very successful businessman. And one of the things you got to do in business is play the game by the rules. The rules are set by the government.
You got to play ball.
You got to play ball.
And do it legally.
And it was I actually put in all capital letters, everything he's done is totally legal. And when it comes down to being successful in life, whether it's business or anything else, you've got to have a network of people that are willing to help you.
Who cares what their political views are?
You
just got to know that these people can get them done.
These people can help you. And so knowing that, you would be negligent in New York City to not give the maximum amount, if you can afford it, as a business person in New York City, to not be giving to these people wherever they may be. Now, he has a worldwide corporation, so he's not just giving to these people in New York City. He's going to be giving them to giving to these people that make policy wherever he's doing business, and that's what he did. And for him not to do it on principle would be negligence for his business.
I agree. No,
And
100%.
that being said, now how does that translate